Hello and welcome to Mags and Tilson. Well guys, after spray painting all the birch white on my fenders and my fuel tanks, I forgot one thing. I forgot to take the tail light apart and to rough up the chrome on the tail light housing and to paint the tail light housing. So now I have to dirty up all my spray guns again and have to prime in the tail light housing and to spray the tail light housing to match the birch white on the back fender over there. So here we go again. I gotta start all over and have to load up my spray guns just to do the small tail light lens here. So I totally forgot about it. So here we go again. Here I have all the chrome parts sandblasted and ready for the first coat of primer. We're about ready to prime in the chain guard and the tail light housing and the Bosch regulator cover. And I'm going to prime all these in. And the chain guard will be in jet black along with the Bosch regulator cover. It's going to be jet black. And the lunchbox oil tank, when I get it, is going to be jet black as well. So I'm going to have to, like I said, I'll have to prime in the rear taillight housing, and once I do that, and then I'll paint that birch white to match the rear fender. I'll do that. So once I get my lunchbox oil tank in, and then I'll prime that in as well and spray that jet black. Now I have a chrome oil tank on my 71 XLCH, and I'm not going to use that one because it's got 3 or 4 dents in it, and that's not acceptable. So I'm going to take that chrome oil tank out of my 71 XLCH, and I have a new one on the way. It's not new, it's actually used, and that should be here in about a week or so. And it's black, it's not chrome, but I have to repaint that one. So when I get that, I'll paint that jet black, and I'll have all my black parts painted. Okay, this is the third coat of high build primer on my chain guard and on my Bosch regulator cover and on my tail light housing. That's 3 coats of high build primer. Now, I wanted this high build primer this time to lay down very smooth and very flat because I didn't want to wet sand it. So what I had to do is add 2 parts of primer, 1 part of activator, and then I added 2 parts of urethane reducer. And I added 2 parts of urethane reducer, and that thinned out this high build primer so it would spray really smooth and flat, and it's not going to require any wet sanding because all I need to do now is simply let it dry and go ahead and spray the jet black on the chain guard and on the regulator cover, and then come over to this part over here and come over to the rear tail light housing and the little screws that go into it, and then go ahead and spray that birch white. So this is not going to require any wet sanding at all. It's very smooth and very, very flat, and I can just go ahead from here, let it set up and dry, and apply the birch white paint, and this job will be done. I'll let that set up, of course, then I'll clear coat over the top of that. So that's the little trick, okay? When you're going to use high build primer and you want it to lay down smooth and flat, just go ahead. In my case, my high build primer called for a 2-to-1. They don't require any urethane reducer. So with the high build primer that I have, it's called High Tech Primer. That's the brand, and they call for 4-to-1, 4 parts of high build primer to 1 part of activator, and that's a high build primer, right? But I wanted to turn the high build primer into a low build, and I wanted it to lay down very, very smooth and flat without any wet sanding. So when I added 2 parts of urethane reducer to the high build primer, then it sprayed super smooth and super flat, and now there will be no sanding required. All I need to do from here is let it cure and then spray the jet black on it, and then the clear coat after that, and this is going to be finished. on the chain guard and the Bosch regulator over here. And now I'll mix up a little bit of birch white and I'll hit that taillight housing. And again, I don't have to wet sand it because when I modified that high build primer with that 2 parts of urethane reducer, it laid down so smooth and flat. And then all I have to do is mix up a little batch of birch white, spray it on there, let it set up and dry, and then go ahead and clear coat it. And that's all I have to do. So, and I didn't forget to put those 2 little taillight housing screws into a piece of cardboard, and I didn't forget to spray those as well because they have to be birch white to match the taillight housing over here, so I didn't forget that. It's a beautiful day over here. It's about 69 degrees and it's a perfect day to paint. And the rest of the week is supposed to be colder outside, and I don't know if I will be able to spray the jet black on the chain guard and on the Bosch cover. So the next day is going to be cold out. The next week, I guess, supposed to be cooler and a little bit too cold to paint. So I'm not sure if I will be able to spray the chain guard in jet black and to clear coat it, and also to paint the Bosch regulator cover in black and then clear coat that as well, and the birch white on the taillight housing. So I'll have to wait and see if it's going to be warm enough, and if it's about 65 degrees I'll be able to paint and I'll be able to clear coat. So if it goes down to 62 or 60 degrees in here, that is a little bit too cool to paint, but I'm going to try it anyway and see what happens. But I would much prefer at least 65 or 68 degrees in here when I start painting. Okay, that's the update, and let's see where it goes from here. That's the first coat of birch white that I just put on right now. I'll let it set up for about 15 minutes and come back and give it a second coat of birch white here. Okay, this will be the third and final coat of birch white on the taillight housing. And at this point in the video, I'd like to ask you to like and subscribe if you already haven't. It would really help out the channel and help me bring more content such as this, so we can bring more Ironhead content to you guys. So go ahead and like and subscribe, and it doesn't cost you anything, it's free. So I finally got my replacement oil tank in today, my lunchbox oil tank for my 1971 Sportster XLCH, and I just got through stripping all the paint off of it. And right down here is where the chain rubbed. You could see it rubbed right through here, right through the bottom of the oil tank bracket, almost right into the oil tank itself. So I'm going to silver solder both of these closed and smooth that out a little bit. And I got a few dings right here I have to fix right here. I'll fix this ding and another ding right up on top here, and a tiny one right up here I'm going to have to fix. Not a big deal, just a couple little dings here. And I'll silver solder this ding. I'll silver solder this ding and that little tiny one up there, and I'll silver solder all the damage that the chain done to the bracket under there. Besides that, those are all the dents that are on the tank, and I'm gonna have to fix those before I prime this tank in. So I'm gonna silver solder. Okay, I just finished fixing the big dent that I had here on the lower corner of my Sportster lunchbox oil tank here, and I silver soldered that in and I ground it down nice and smooth to match the contour of the oil tank. And also I filled in 2 big grooves that were cut into the bracket from the chain, where the previous owner never adjusted his chain and it was really sloppy, and it was just cutting into the bottom bracket of the oil tank, which is a common thing that I see. I did silver solder that and I repaired that, and it almost cut right into the oil tank itself, but it did cut deep into the bracket right here and just missed the oil tank. So that's all silver soldered and that's all fixed. And I did fix a couple of dings that I had in the front of the oil tank, and that's going to be seen once you mount the oil tank on the bike. So I wanted to fix the one big dent here and a little tiny one here, and I did silver solder this dent, and I ground those down flat, and then had to apply a very, very skim coat of Bondo over the whole thing so it smooths the whole thing out nice and flat. And now it's ready to prime, and I'll give it about 3 or 4 coats of primer, blend everything in, and go ahead and paint it jet black and put a clear coat on top of that when I'm finished with the jet black. So this oil tank's all done. That's all ready to paint and prime and all that. So just a little update on this lunchbox oil tank. So it's kind of cold outside today. It's about 57, 58 degrees, I think it is, and it's a little too cold to paint. So I'm going to heat up this oil tank a little bit because it's kind of cold. And I have the primer inside the house where it's getting warmed up. And I'm going to come back out here and start to prime in this oil tank. But in the meantime, I use this little hair dryer here, or I should say it's not a hair dryer, it's heat gun. And I'm going to warm up the oil tank first, and before I start shooting primer on it. Okay, it's about 57 or 58 degrees in the garage right now. This is the first time that I actually painted in really cool temperatures like this before. What I did, I had to modify my high build primer here. And what I did, I went with 2 parts of high build gray primer to 1 part of mid-temperature activator, which is not the right one to use for low temperatures like this. I went with 2 parts of the urethane reducer, which is going to thin out this high build primer so it lays down nice and flat and very smooth. So it's not going to require any wet sanding. And this is the first coat. And so far it's laying down nice and flat and nice and smooth. And we'll go ahead and apply the second coat of primer. As a rule, I don't like spray painting any part that's kind of hanging like this, because the air pressure from the gun is starting to move the part all the way around, and it's kind of difficult to start spraying it like that and try to get everything. So I have to hold it with my left hand here while I'm spraying so I could kind of keep it a little bit more stationary as I paint it. It's a little bit awkward to paint like this. And that's the last coat of primer on this lunchbox oil tank here. And as you can see, after I modified that high build primer and I thinned it out a lot more, it's laying down nice and flat and smooth and will not require any sanding at all before I spray it jet black. And I'll let it set up for a few days and hit it with the jet black and the clear coat along with the chain guard and the Bosch regulator cover, and we'll get all the black parts done and we'll get these out of the way, and then I'll put the graphics on the gas tank at the end of the week and then shoot the clear coat on the gas tank and the front and rear fenders. And we'll have a complete 1971 Harley-Davidson Sparkling America paint job. And that's that. For the first time, I'm attempting to paint at 60 degrees, which I never have done before, and I usually paint at the coldest about 68 degrees, but it's only 60 degrees today, and I do have my doubts because my activator is not low temperature. It's at mid-temperature activator, and it's not made for this lower temperature, so I really have my doubts about this, and I don't believe my paint's going to flow as well. And I'm not sure about the drying times, being that this activator is not made for these cooler temperatures. So I'm trying it for the first time, and I'm going to see what is going to happen here. But I don't feel good about it. I really don't. But I'm pressed for time here because it's late October and the colder weather's around the corner here, and this may be the last day that I have to get this jet black put on these parts, and I won't be able to clear coat them because I'm not going to have the time to do it, and because I know that it's going to be cooler outside. So I'm taking a chance just by spraying these parts jet black when it's only 60 degrees out. So I can tell already that it's not laying flat enough, and it's not flowing properly. So at this point, I'm not too happy about the way that this paint is starting to lay down. It's not laying smooth. It's not beginning to flow properly. It's coming out a little bit rough here, a little bit thick. And I'm not used to this at all. It's kind of disappointing. So I'm going to keep on going here and see what happens. And what's going on here in these colder temperatures, that my activator is not beginning to dry the paint. And I've been waiting about maybe 15 minutes between coats, and the paint is not drying. And as a result, I'm getting dust in my paint. And it's nowhere near like I would like it to be. But I'm going to keep on going here, and what I'm going to try to do here is give it one last coat, and then I'm going to let it set up. But it's not going to dry. It's just simply not going to dry, in a very short amount of time. And dust is going to land into this paint, and so it's a possibility that I'll do this whole job all over again in the spring when it's nice outside and I'm able to get the paint to flow nicer. So I had the paint shop sitting outside for about 3 days, and it wouldn't dry up. So I ended up bringing it inside the house here. And this is the 6th day, and it's just drying, okay? Now it's nice and dry, but it took about 6 days for this paint to set up and dry. And I did experiment a little bit on these cooler temperatures, and this is the result. I'm never going to do it again. If it's not at least 68 and above, I'm not going to paint anymore. So when it gets this cold outside, you're not going to get the really beautiful smooth paint jobs, and it's going to stay wet, and all the dirt and dust is going to land in your beautiful paint job, and it's not going to be good. So as I said, I just may do it all over again next springtime when the hotter temperatures are here, and I'm able to make the paint flow, and the drying times are very short, so I don't get all this dust in my paint. It's a lesson learned. But when you're doing this type of work, it's good to try. It's good to experiment a little bit and see how far you can push it. And next I'll be applying the 1971 Sparkling America, all the paint graphics on the new birch white paint job. So I got to do that next. And I'll be coming out with that one probably in maybe a few weeks or so, I'm not sure. And I had a nice big mishap out in the garage working on my Sportster, and I caught all that on film, so that's going to be a big laugh. And I'm sure I'll get a lot of views and a lot of comments on this mishap that I've had out in the garage. So until then, guys, you take good care of yourselves, and thank you again for watching Max and Tillison. And until then, I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care.
And I've been busy out in the garage as well doing a lot of mechanical work on that 1971 Sportster, just trying to tear things apart. And I have a little surprise for you guys. And I had a little mishap out there, and and it was caught on film, and I'm gonna show that to you guys. You're not gonna believe it.